Hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode of all sorts of esports and the detailed descriptions of what we should be looking for when going into the LCS, either North America or Europe, or the LCK for 2018. With all these changes, especially with North America, it has created quite a havoc environment for most teams. So today we'll be looking at Team Solo Mid, Flyquest, 100 Thieves, and then in Europe, we'll be looking at Splyce, since they just completed their roster announcements. And lastly, we'll be looking at Samsung Galaxy in the LCK. And then also, we'll be looking at the mid laners that I think are worth it to pick up, but are not picked up yet. So they're still sitting in free agents, whether North American, European, or Korean. So first, we got TSM. So they decided to kind of pull out things that they didn't think were working, and Reginald just released an interview with Travis Gafford about why they made these changes, and they even released a little bit about that on the TSM website as well. So pretty much what they talked about was the communication that was going on in the team was not the way they wanted it to be. They were very skilled mechanically, but they couldn't transfer that to the late game. Even though they came out with a lot of late game wins, that was mostly mechanical, and they were just playing like a giant solo queue game, is what Andy Reginald Din said, who is the owner of TSM. So they kept their top and mid laners, so Hanser and Bjergsen stayed, but the rest, they spit them out to other North American teams and got new ones. I think it's very interesting, to say the least. We thought for sure that Doublelift and Bio would stay and just Svenskeren would be leaving, just with the recency of their performances, but the team obviously thought they needed a big change, and they did. So we got Hunter in the top lane, who's always been a rock, and even better than a rock, he's been a playmaker. He catches out teammates for being bad players. He's kind of harsh sometimes, is what we've seen in TSM Legends, and he catches out the enemy team when they're just not playing well, and he really is good at positioning in team fights as well as laning. His big thing is team fighting though. And secondly, we got Mike Young in the jungle. So Mike Young, he's less than a year old in the North American LCS, and it should be pretty interesting to see what he can do in a new team environment. So his spot on Phoenix won this past year. He got Rookie of the Split, and he was a very, supposedly, this is all speculation from what we know in the community, from Twitter and Reddit pretty much, but we know that he communicated a lot of what he was doing in the jungle and what the lanes could do to help him throughout the map. So TSM liked the idea of that, and they said the only other person that they were looking at was Rainover, who went to CLG. So I think this is the next big pickup, and I think this is the biggest gamble of their new roster as well. Since he's only been in less than a year, lots of players have come in and just been good for a split or two and then just kind of dropped off. So we should really see how it goes so far. Most TSM fans, it looks like, are liking it so far. He seems very fun on stream and very informative and analytical. So they think that will transfer straight to the competitive scene, but it doesn't really always go that way. So we'll see what goes on there. And then next we got Bjergsen, always the rock for TSM. We'll see him on TSM probably until he retires. Just with the branding and the money that that brings in, Bjergsen and TSM are just both benefiting so much from it, and I don't think we'll be seeing him leave TSM anytime soon. And then the big change from Europe, we got Sven and Mithy in the bot lane. So they came from G2 Esports, who have done very well in the past. And Sven, by the way, if you haven't been following the last year or two, I think in early 2016, he changed from Niels, so he played on Origin as Niels, and then when he changed to G2, he went to Sven with his V. So you got Sven with his Z, and then Svenskeren, who is the jungler for Cloud9 now. So they started out with SK Gaming, at least Sven did, and then when they went to Origin, that's where they met, and they've just kind of been this bot lane to be ever since. From Origin, they transferred over to G2 Esports, and now to TSM this coming season. I have a list of their championships. They're just like Bjergsen or Doublelift, or who else is some good ones? Like High, Jensen, Sneaky. These people who just have this long track record of success. So they got 2017 EU LCS Spring Split champions, 2016 Summer champions, second place in the spring of 2016. And then Sven was the Rookie of the Split in the Summer Split of 2015. They won IEM, beating TSM and CLG in 2016. So IEM is the one before spring split starts. Actually, sorry, in the middle of spring and summer. And they also got in LCS through the Challenger Series with Origin when they first came in. So they definitely have a huge track record of success, and it should be extremely interesting to see what happens with this lane and what happens with the other lanes. Because we've seen TSM back when they had Yellow Star, when they brought that whole new team. So when they got rid of like Wild Turtle and they brought in Yellow Star, Doublift, Sven Skaren, and Hanser, they did not do well. I think they placed 6th, which is not TSM standards, and they ended up making it to the finals, but they had a horrible spring split. So you never know when you bring all these superstars together. Even though Mike Young is young and he's coming off a season of being a rookie, he probably has a big head on himself just because he's gotten so much praise from the community and just from casters alike, and everyone around him has really liked him so far and what he's done. He's had a lot of carry performances, so we'll see what he does on the tanks that we'll probably be seeing this coming season. And lastly, we got Coach Song. He's had undisputed track record in Korea as well as in North America with Immortals, so Song should be a great addition to TSM's always lackluster coaching staff. They've had Parth, who just came on as an operations guy this past year, 2 years ago, and then he has finally moved to the operations again and coming away from that coaching a little bit where he came to the team in the first place. So finally they have a real coach, so hopefully we'll see some success internationally because that's Reginald's goal the whole time. So next we got Flyquest. So Flyquest is quite the team. They really just look like, even though their last team was that Cloud9 Challenger team that came through, it looks like that just again. We have a lot of veterans that just haven't been around the block in like winning too much, and I don't know about this team. It looks pretty rough, but we'll see if they can come together. So we got Flame in the top lane. He was very good with LGD back in 2015. I think they won Summer Split. Yes, they won Summer Split, and then they got second in the Spring Split before that. And then he also won a few tournaments with CJ Entis back before, when these like scheduled tournaments and scheduled like seasons were a thing with the league. He won a lot of tournaments. I was looking on his Wikipedia, and he has a lot of tournaments won with CJ Entis. And then he finally landed on Immortals. So right at the beginning, Immortals had that first shaky spring split, and he had a shaky start. And then they came around and they got to finals against TSM, and he did not perform that great against Hanser in the top lane. So we should see what happens. He got pretty shaken up from that loss, and yeah, it should be very interesting. I hope he can have a breakout year, but I just don't think this is the team where that happens. It doesn't seem like he has enough structure. In the jungle, we have Ande or Ande, A-N-D-A. I've seen his name a billion times in solo queue and just in threads and articles, but I've never actually seen him play. So he was in the top lane for the last 3 years, and then last year he changed to jungle, and he was a sub for Immortals. And that's where my biggest memory of him is. He got, I think, in the top 10, maybe only up to like 13 or 12 in the Korean ladder in solo queue when they were there for this past finals. During their boot camp. So I think that's really interesting. It obviously shows he's a good player, but if he can bring that to the stage, it could bring a whole nother level, because solo queue has actually shown a significant consistency with how they are in the jungle in competitive. So I think that's really interesting compared to some other lanes where it's not so much that. And then in the mid lane, we got Fly. So Fly is a weird player because you've heard about him a lot for the past few years, but he hasn't really shown anything too big. He was on KT Rolster, and then he was on Longzhu for a very long time. And then that was when Longzhu was not so great of a team, and then he went to Gold Coin United. But I think he was only a sub, because what I found was he was on Gold Coin United, but from what I remember, Phoenix played all the time on Gold Coin. So I don't know where Fly was in that, and I don't know if he was subbing or more of an analyst coach. I don't really know what was happening there, but I know that he wasn't playing, which is not a good sign for how he was as a player. And then we got Wild Turtle and Cake as the substitute. So I think Wild Turtle and Stunt as the support, I think this is the breakout bot lane for this coming, at least spring split. Stunt has been around the LCS for a few years now. He went from Ember to Fox, Echo Fox, to Team Liquid Academy, to Team Liquid, and then to Dig, and then to Phoenix 1, and then to Immortals, and now he finally lands at Flyquest. So we'll see if he can stick with the team. You never know if that's money issues or what. So you really got to stick with, hopefully, because he brings some veteran, actually, knowledge. Since he's been on so many different teams, he could really pair up with Wild Turtle, and they could be that steady rock that Flame and Fly need, because this team looks really shaky, but if they could have one solid component, maybe they could work off that and get a lot of wins this coming spring. And also, I would just love to see Wild Turtle succeed. He's had a rough couple of years after leaving TSM. He always had those flash memes after him of just flashing into teams. He does make huge plays, but he also makes huge blunders as well. So if we could see him go off this coming season, that would be great. And lastly, we got their coach. So their coach is unknown. So they haven't released anything about him. There's no word about him that I've seen at least, or I've searched just a little bit and through articles and stuff, and there hasn't been anything released. I'm thinking they'll either get like a coach from like an old sport, so it'll be more like a player, like environment coach from a university or a professional team, something like that, because they're backed by the 76ers, I believe. Otherwise, we'll be getting like an old player maybe. I'm thinking maybe Froggen, but we'll have another video that I'm actually gonna make right after this about what Froggen will be doing. But I think we will be seeing somebody that's not as known in the coaching scene coming into Flyquest as the coach. All right, next North American team that we're looking at, and the last one for today, is 100 Thieves. So this is the team, another NBA team making it the NBA LCS, that is looking a little rough, to be honest. So we got only their top right now. So we got top, jungle, and mid. No bottom lane yet. Obviously, that's a big part of the game. It's 40% of the whole team. So in the top lane, we got Someday. Historically, he showed a massive language barrier, and he showed very shaky engages that just don't really make sense. So right here, I'll show one clip of when he was on Dignitas. He had 2 Korean chefs. He had a Korean coach and another Korean player on the team, and he tried to make big plays like he did against the top LCK teams in 2016, but they just always blunder. With all these Koreans on the team, you'd think that he would kind of get to know the team, know what they're doing, know what they want, but just from that clip, you can't tell exactly what the problem was exactly. And I didn't pull the greatest clip, but there's many of them just from this whole year, this whole past year, that you can see that just weren't too great of engages. He just never really looked comfortable or knew what he was doing in the position that he was given in the team at the time. So maybe that's a coaching problem, maybe that's a Someday problem, maybe that's a team problem. No one really knows, but I'm super excited to see what happens on this team, because he had huge plays in the LCK, like I said before, in 2016 against these top teams, and that Someday has got to be somewhere, even though we saw it come out a little bit just with his solo carry plays on Dignitas this past split. He still just lacked that team effort and that team performance that you need in League of Legends nowadays. And then Meteos. So in my notes, I have who the heck knows about Meteos. This is really a toss-up. I don't have anything to analyze. I don't have any numbers. He played on Phoenix 1 for a little bit, showed a little bit of promise, but he's jumped around a little bit, just stuck to streaming. I don't like that personally. If I was a fan of Meteos, that shows maybe behavior issues, that shows you don't have the consistency or the reliability on a team to stick with it. Because if you're not dedicated 100% to the team, you just won't perform. So that's a big problem for me, and I look forward to hopefully being proven wrong. And he does great, because I love Meteos, I love watching him stream, and I love the points that he makes and just how he jungles. I think it's really exciting. So yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be awesome. And the second last person that we know for the 100 Thieves is Ryu. So Ryu, honestly, with the sketchy Someday and sketchy Meteos, Ryu is the extremely solid laner that this team needs, and team fighter that just will never die, that will always put out the damage and just be a great teammate, honestly. He's remembered for the 1v1 Zed for Zed Faker play. If you want to link back to that, maybe I'll throw it in the description. I think that's always a fun play. That's exactly opposite of what he is now. That face that he makes after that play, frustration, you don't see that too much anymore. He stomped on H2K in 2015 and 2016 for I think 4 splits though. He had 4 splits on H2K and he did very, very well. And that's what pulled him to Phoenix 1 on this past year. Yep, the last 2 splits when Phoenix 1 came in. So after that, he was just consistent and he was a very good laner. He definitely had a drop from H2K, but he's still very, very good. And you can't find very much a better mid laner besides probably Bjergsen or Jensen. Ryu's pretty much up there, especially statistically speaking. He had great stats this whole past season. And lastly, we got Prolly. So, I mean, everyone knows who Prolly is. He was a player at the beginning, and then he coached H2K for a really long time. The team environment always seemed great. Teammates and, well, the people that he was coaching always said he was great. So I'm looking forward to what Prolly can do in North America again, and if they can even find a bot lane. Otherwise, they'll find someone from Challenger Series or maybe Europe or Korea. I don't really know. There's not too many people left besides maybe Forgiven, which would maybe be a fun little throwback there, but otherwise I don't really know what's going on in the bot lane in 100 Thieves. And now moving on to Europe. So we got top laner Odoamne. Oh, sorry, we're going Splyce. This is the Splyce team for 2018. We got top laner Odoamne. So he played on the Cloud9 European team first, and then he went to H2K for 3 years. And everyone who's ever watched European LCS knows that Odoamne was a very solid player. He had a few carry performances in the 2016 summer where they placed first, but after that he was just very consistent. And I think that 2016 summer shows that if he gets on a good team, he can be a very, very good player, just like Hanser. Hanser did consistent on Gravity before he got to TSM, and then he really, really stopped when there was a solid base around him to work with. So I think it should be awesome to watch him. And then in the jungle, we got Xerxes. So he went from Unicorns of Love, where he was on his whole career pretty much. He was on smaller challenger teams, things like that. But I think he was on for 2 splits only, and now he's on Splyce. He showed promise on Unicorns of Love, so it should be very just regular. He didn't show too weird a play style, just a regular jungler that kind of hits the lanes evenly. I looked at his jungle proximity, and it's very even against all the other junglers in European LCS. So we should just see a normal split from him. Hopefully he can do well. And going into the mid lane, we got Niski. So I loved Niski last year. I thought he was an amazing player on Envy. So, well, he first started on Fnatic Academy, and he performed well. They made it all the way through the tournament almost, and then he went to Envy. So Envy, like I said, he had a huge performance on. Lots of casters were putting him up with Bjergsen actually, with saying that this is what teams need, this is what they want. He was making solo kills, but he also could play that control mage, like kind of supportive team. So he was affecting other lanes, and he was just doing a really great job everywhere. So he could make a really big impact on this team. And not that this team really needs a huge impact mid laner, but if they need it, he can be that placeholder. And then in AD carry, we got Kabi. So this team was all built around Kabi. I think that some Splyce members from last season showed promise, but this is the last one standing. He had a few carry performances through the split, and I think that this is where that solid rock that I was talking about that the team needs. I'm saying solid rock too many times for this team. So it might be they're either going to be super hot or they're going to be extremely average. I don't think they'll be bad. There's no way they're 7th, 8th, or 9th, or 10th place, but they could be sitting around 5th place if they just don't make any big splashes. Maybe they'll need a new pick, a new strategy, something like that to really get them going. And in support, we got Kasing. So Kasing's been all over. He's even been in North America for TSM in a little bit. I think he played at an IEM or a TSM, or an IEM or an MSI. I don't really remember which one. They were boot camping him, things like that. He ended his ventures on Vitality before switching over to Splyce, and he's known for his playmaking, just like most supports who come out of the Challenger Series. And we'll see if him and Kabi can clash together, or don't clash, because that's pretty much the name of the game right now in all of League of Legends, is making sure your team is consistently working together. Even though there will be some hardships, like always, You just got to keep pushing through, and maybe not a split or two, but maybe next year he'll really start clinging with Kabi and make a really good bot lane. And their coach is Peter Dunn, which I honestly know nothing about, and I didn't research him at all. So yep, their coach is Peter Dunn, and we'll see how they do next season. And then Samsung Galaxy, same exact roster. I just saw on Reddit like an hour or two that they got picked up by like a big Korean esports, KSM, I believe. I may be wrong, KMS, something like that. They have a huge financial backing now. That team, or that organization, also has an Overwatch team, and they're pretty much taking over esports right now in Korea. They got two really good teams, and since Samsung Galaxy is coming off such a strong year this past year, it could be great for for both organizations as well as the players. So we got top lane Cuvee, which it was amazing. If you watched his Kennen play this past Worlds, it was just off the rails. It was awesome to watch. I loved watching it. I went and played a Kennen game in solo queue just because it was so fun to watch. We got jungle, we got Ambition, we got mid, Crown, AD carry, Ruler, and support Core JJ. So if you remember Core JJ, he was actually Dignitas, just for a little background. That's pretty much all I know about him. Crown is famous for his Victor play. And this is the same team that was one win away from getting out of groups in 2016 and played TSM. Just that Victor play still pops in my head, and yeah, it's a very interesting team. It always has been. A little, as I say interesting, I want to say like lackluster at the same time. They have interesting champion picks, but their strategy is very boring. And by boring, I mean very strategic, very slow. They'll win the game slow. They'll just slowly choke out their opponent, and you just hope to get a lucky early game or something against them. And yeah, they don't have a very big fan base, but maybe with this big financial backing, they'll be able to get more merchandise, more branding, more video stuff, things like that. So I think this is definitely the team to watch in LCK again this coming season. So you got Longzhu and SKT who are coming the big hype train. Everybody loves them, but Samsung Galaxy is a fun team to watch if you really like that methodical gameplay that lots of the casters like too. Because listening to them, so watching the games and listening to the casters is actually very interesting, and you can learn a lot about the game. So lastly, we got notable free agents from Korea, Europe, and North America. So I'm just doing mid laners today, and then we'll do bot lane in the final episode of the detailed analysis. So in mid lane, we got Keen. If you remember Keen, he had that cheeky Urgot for a little bit going. I have never been sold on Keen. He seems like he just gets thrown into these bad positions on teams, and he throws other teams into bad positions. He just has these cheese picks. He seems very inconsistent. His stats are not good at all. So yeah, I don't think he stands out enough to be picked up in this hyper-aggressive free agent time that it is right now. And then looking down the list, we got Linsanity, we have Sky. So Sky, he used to be the sub for Faker, and now he's open for business. Who knows what Faker has in his head, and who knows what Sky has in his head as well, especially with that weird haircut. He has a big blonde haircut that is pretty whack. So who knows if anyone wants to pick him up just for the bad PR. And then we got Wolf, we got Pekin, we got Pyrian, which I also love. So Pyrian and Niski last year were amazing, loved him. He had a great split with Envy. I hope to see him in like a replaceable spot, because Pyrian, I don't know if he has the background or like the depth to really be a very good starting mid laner like a team wants. But if he could get maybe on a team like with like Phoenix on Echo Fox, I think that would be great for him. It'd be great for Phoenix to learn from. It'd be great for Pyrian to just get out there and get in the LCS and show him who's boss, because I think he really has what it takes. And then lastly, we got Froggen. So Froggen is still open. I don't know if he's going coaching. I don't know if he's going streaming. I'm just gonna roll right into the next video right now. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I love hearing all the comments underneath and commenting back. Lots of people have different opinions about stuff in esports, sports alike. So throw it down there if you think I'm stupid, if you think I'm right. Make sure to share this with any friends that like esports as well. My last video got over 500 views, which I totally wasn't expecting, so that's really awesome. And I hope that you can show this to all your friends, maybe follow me on Twitter, and I'll throw some tweets out. You can retweet it for other people to see, because I'm getting some new subscribers, and I love seeing the community just comment on my stuff, and it's really interesting. So make sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and we should see what's going on. Thanks.
I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.